is 180 milliseconds too late, the SSA Rocket League podcast. Today I chat with Nick Holden from ACGL about the LAN they put on for Rocket League and FIFA on the 5th of March. And then I chat to Brad, who's one of the admins for the South African six-man server. And we talk about six-mans and why every South African Rocket League player should be involved. Now I have a conversation with Mr. Nick Holden, who is I guess the boss of, or the main man, what counts over at ACGL. Whether I'm right about that or not, I don't know. And Nick will clarify. Mr. Holden, hello.
How's it? How you doing, Greybeard? In terms of clarity, just so you know, there's essentially two of us in this thing. Some of you guys might know Clint, aka Zombie Gamer. But yeah, myself, Nick Holden, I'm also co-owner of ACGL.
Now, ACGL's got a fairly. You've been at this for a while. So,
yes.
When did this all get going?
Well, from me on a personal aspect, it started working in the side of the industry around about 11 years ago. I started things off at an ISP where I started my career. Some of you guys might know MWeb. And then essentially ACGL, from a more public standing or front-facing point, we started operating in 2000 and I want to say 15. Yeah, 2015. Okay. Yeah, so that's how long we've been riding this train.
All right. Well, the reason I wanted to chat with you, there's two things. There's the main reason, and then you said something in one of our, as we were going back and forth on Discord, that I was like, ooh, I want to talk about that, but we'll come to that. But first of all was the LAN, which is, you guys put on the Levelfox Rocket League final down in Cape Town. What it was the 5th of March, right?
5th of March, that is correct.
And that was, now I attended a LAN in October 2019, and it was my first ever LAN. And if I'd known then how scarce it was going to be, I might have worked harder to enjoy it more.
100%. I think if we all knew exactly what was going to happen over the following 2 years, we all would have just taken in the activities at least around one another a little bit more.
Yeah, so when I saw the LAN and it looked amazing, and the whole vibe around it looked fabulous, and everyone looked to be having a wonderful time, and it was, I think, a reminder for many who've been to LANs of what we should be doing, and for many it was their first, including a few of the people who were playing in the final had never been to a LAN before.
Yeah, and I think even operationally behind the scenes, there was some of our operators that were on the ground, some of our tournament admin even that flew in, some of our newer staff members as well. So it was a huge culmination point, and it also was, dare I say, a statement point for us as a company, just to be able to say, hey, we're back inside of this space and willing to be able to put up some big events with partners as well.
And it didn't come without its problems, because this was supposed to happen at the beginning of December, just as Omicron came and gave us first and then the world in general a fat smack, and it had to be postponed. That must have been a bit of a tough call to make.
Yeah, very much out of the frying pan into the oven situation. So yeah, it was a decision that was almost forced in many ways. That said, we'd rather make sure that we could put on an event that we were proud of and that wasn't facing too many restrictions from a travel element, as Omicron really brought, I guess, the international eyes on us completely. So also just from a responsibility management side. So the decision was made to be able to move that over and across into March, which, looking back, I think was the right decision.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. It doesn't make it any less painful at the time, though, especially when you'd kind of put the effort into it as you had. And then there's also the complication, like you have teams that arrive at a final for early December, and you're going to have it 3 months later. You know, life changes, teams change, so it messes with the whole dynamic and flow of what you were trying to do there. So let's talk about. So you alluded already to why you did it. So let's talk about first, why did you want to LAN?
I think we've all wanted to LAN for quite some time. I mean, ACGL as a company, we really started out with 80% of our company primarily being events and operations. So the fact that we got forced indoors, especially for Clint, my business partner, for 2 years, I mean, he had to start adopting the online side of things. So we were always itching at that first opportunity to get back into the LAN environment. And we were chatting quite a bit over that period of time with Media24 as well as Levelfox to be able to get inside of this space and to see what we could do. It was put out there as a theory. That theory turned into a proposition. That proposition turned into reality. So from our side of things, the more that we can actually get back into the venting space, the better, because there's nothing better to drive and support community than, to be honest, IRL events.
I think the highlight for me, I mean, outside of the studio, which looked amazing, and the overall production, which was very good, but what probably made me the happiest was seeing at least portions of 2 or 3 Rocket League teams sitting at a table drinking. Well, some were drinking beer, some were drinking milkshakes, but it was just. I go, this is what we should be doing. That whole interaction, competitors who can become and should be friends, and just hanging out. It really made me so incredibly happy to see that. So
it's the best. It's honestly. So I just wanted to further elaborate on that.
Go
From
ahead.
our side of things as well. I mean, we used to put together some events called MWeb GG that was in correlation with one of our old partners called Gaming Gatherings. And Gaming Gatherings were built off of a previous concept, which was 2-up gamers, and even further from that, just culmination points for people to go, hey, those are the people I play with online, and then next time they'll come join because they see there was high energy, there was involvement, and people just wanting to interact with one another. I think we always worry about a judgmental space inside of gaming because that's all you dealt with. You don't really get to know more than the front-facing parts of people. I mean, you hear their voice every single day, but getting to know them from a in real life perspective, I think people drop their guard a little bit more. They open up a little bit more, and it's just, I don't know. It's something that's so important for us as a community to realize that we're also not just faces or names behind a screen. Even for our admins, I'll point that out to them too, is that these are real people that you're dealing with. And they ideally want to achieve the same goals as just support and create structure for the community. So yeah.
And so I don't know how much behind the scenes stuff I'm curious to know what is involved. I mean, there's the cost perspective, but the logistics of putting on an in-person live LAN. I don't know how much you can talk to that, because I'm curious to know about that.
There's so much that goes into it. I mean, you do your multiple site recce's before the time just so you can kind of get an ideal in terms of a landscape and how you see this just from a pure structure. Then the very next one is like, okay, what physical attributes need to be added to these events to be able to roll them out. Then there's the briefing before the time with what talent you're going to be able to get involved. What are those running orders? What does the scripting look like? Okay, further from that, what is the asset creation going to be around these things? How are we going to make sure that we've got the right clips or inserts to be able to place inside of these spaces? And so many things and ideas that you might come in with initially. Believe me, we have many more ideas that we would love to execute on. But it's also about constraining those to what is realistic. There's a saying that I love from one of the companies that I hold as very much a pinnacle in esports in a lot of ways, because these guys used to be the old MLG guys. And one of their main things was KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Try keep it simple. Try make sure that you can run the thing, and make sure that you can build on that for the next time. So it's a hell of a lot of work. It's a lot of sleepless nights to go into it. But if you get it right and you feel like the preparation's been put in, then it's just about the end goal, making sure that you can deliver on that. So there's certain things I think we'll even look back on. I'm highly critical. I used to be a competitive esports player myself for a game called Call of Duty. You always need to critique your own skills and your own development and go, how are we going to improve on this next time? So I guess the TLDR is a lot of hard work.
No, fair enough. Well, coming out of that, or moving, the next question for me then would be, what are the highlights for you, and what were the sort of lessons learned going forward with it?
Some of the highlights was some of the people that I got to work with. I think from that side of things is that it's weird working in this industry for as long as I have, and then being able to there's a show, for example, Hectic 9, that I went on, did a couple of interviews way back when, and that director talked to me about how much he loved games, and he did some stuff with us in the past. Next thing, he's going to be the actual director on the show, so it just naturally was a bond there. So that was a highlight just to be able to say, hey, I can work with these people who I've worked with before. Then further from that, just to be able to see how much commitment we had from our team side of things to be able to get stuck in, to get involved. As you said, people hadn't had a LAN opportunity for quite some time, so even just some of the LAN team to be able to see one another, then being able to see the players as well as fly in some of the guys that have been doing commentary in the past. Even Snare from his side of things, I hadn't ever met him.
Wow.
Too many times before that. And then Mike Uder as well, being able to see him IRL was really cool. Just some highlighted moments, seeing the photos afterwards was also quite special. Seemingly as we got locked in the production booth, unable to escape, needing to do what we need to do on that side. But I think the scary moments that you remember is that countdown timer, and then if things are going well, as that rolls in, everything else almost becomes a blur because you're just going through trying to make sure that everything's operating accordingly. But I think just the team photos, being able to see everybody having a great time. There were a lot of highlights there. To be able to pinpoint one is quite tricky at times.
No, I
But
got
yeah.
you. And then, okay. So what are your plans? Okay, wait. Maybe I'll structure this question a bit differently. So you had two games of that LAN. It was FIFA and it was Rocket League. And why those two games?
Before we went into conversations, I'll be fully transparent on that side. I guess we were looking at different titles. Call of Duty Cup came up a couple of times. It had certain restrictions, time constrictions as well. Rainbow Six came up as well. When it came down to Rocket League as well as FIFA, they're titles that you can watch from an outside perspective without really needing to kind of understand it, because you almost understand it as soon as you watch it. Their adoption from a public level is well known, FIFA primarily, and Rocket League's growth over the past few years. From a time constraint perspective, it was two titles that we could squeeze into one day that really worked.
Okay.
Ideally, we would have had that as a much longer series with much more teams involved, all that kind of jazz. But being able to shape that into one day, especially considering what health measurements are in place for these kind of events, and also just how cost effective you can be to try put that together. So those two games really made a lot of sense. It wasn't too demanding from a stage dynamic. I mean, if you think about a 5v5 or a 4v4 game, it means more flights, more travel, more accommodation, more logistics to be able to worry about. So trying to keep it to minimums, but also deliver something that we thought was powerful enough going forward into hopefully out of this COVID pandemic era, if I can say that much.
Yes. No, I understand. I mean, I have my fantasy is having a full sort of well, maybe 16 is a bit too ambitious, but eight team LAN over a weekend, it was just a huge epic over 2 or 3 days would just be remarkable. But I think the money and the logistics involved would be mind-boggling. But man, that's what I'd like to work to at some point in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's one of the things that we've all been itching for. We used to, it's a bit of an odd event, but we used to do events at CTICC as well from that side. And just the scale of having so many people seeing one another and then competing against one another. First, you get that bubbling rising up of everyone shaking hands, giving high fives, and like, hey, what's up? Oh, that's who you are.
Yes.
And that kind of moment. And then you have okay, what's the next level of that? These guys are, at the end of the day, they're rivals, they're competitors. And then having that build up to a broadcast and just that follow through. Man, we miss it so much. And
Yes.
and it's also just one of those things that we almost needed to state again. We did our biggest production, I think, in 2016 with something called the Call of Duty Mag Cup. And for some reason in between then and now, I think people didn't realize what level of production we could produce. So for us, it was quite important to use that as a culmination point to go, hey, this is what we can do, given the right kind of conditions to be able to do it. But absolutely, that LAN big environment, that's very much still a part of our aspirations going forward too.
All right, good. Well, we can talk about that in a moment, but I want to bring up so in our back and forth while we were trying to set up this conversation, you said, and I want to quote it, but you said we're doubling down on Rocket League, And that
Yeah.
got me very excited. So what does that mean, ACGL and Rocket League? What can we expect coming in the future?
So I guess doubling down contextually is also quite important because I mean
Yes.
double down on what exactly. So for us, I'd like to think from our side of things that we've always stuck by the Rocket League community. I think we were the first ones kind of hosting tournaments continuously for them way back when, before we even had South African servers, and we just kept on hosting. We know that there's been opportunities in between at certain moments, just to be able to spike that interest. So from our side of things, I think we just see it as a title that is just, it really speaks to multiple entry points into the market. That, and even Sideswipe to an extent. I know it's a different game altogether, but I think from our side it just means we're recommitting as much as possible. We're including it in more proposals.
Great.
Going forward, we're trying to make sure that we're also coordinating with the community as much as possible. And I think to not let the ball drop, there's been ball drop moments from our side of things. I'll raise our hand to it. If we can't admit to our own faults, we can't grow. And I think further from that, we need to make sure that we can keep going with the community. And please, guys and girls listening to this, if you guys have feedback, give it to us. We not here to chase anybody away, good and bad. We want to be able to hear it. And I guess that's just doubling down on our commitment to Rocket League. What fruition that might bring, we still have to wait and see. But I think we've already made a powerful statement at the beginning of this year with showing what kind of level we want to showcase Rocket League at.
And are there? I mean, coming out of the LAN, I'm assuming that there's sort of throwing forward to what you might do. I don't know if there's anything sort of concrete and okay, we want to have another LAN at this time, or what is the thinking in terms of future LANs?
Well, concretely, it's difficult to say.
Sure.
In terms of LANs, I think there's twofold. We're having a very much an educational focus as well. So there'll definitely be events incorporating Rocket League from an education standpoint, which is quite exciting, as well as broadcast on that side. When it comes down to LAN environments, there's still quite a few things that we're waiting for the, once again, I'll use the analogy, ball to drop on. And then we just have to follow through with that. So I can't really commit to anything, unfortunately, here in terms of saying what is possible. But yes, it is something that we're ultimately trying to get more structured and more regular. I think the biggest problem that happens with competitive gaming, and this was a problem when I joined all the way 11 years ago, is that consistency is not effectively there, right? In terms of going, this is something I can point to and this is something I can participate in. And I think every single player is looking for that more and more. From our side, we're just doing our best to prioritize, obviously, the games that we really want to prioritize on, but ultimately, how can we get people to connect more regularly, more often, but within a structure that they feel rewarded in? So
okay, yeah. So it's a concrete part of the thinking, even if there aren't concrete, definite, like, okay, these dates, that time, those titles. Fair enough. All right, great. Well, there we go. I was, I think it's a big up to you guys to putting it on. Just seeing it and following it on Twitter and throughout the day, and seeing the photos and watching the stream. It was a fabulous production and well done. And as you say, it's easy to be critical, and sure, you must be. You've got to look at what could be done better, and what didn't go as well as it should have. But it's the hardest part of any of these things is actually doing something, and the fact that it was done, and it was great, and the people who were there loved it. I think they had a great time. So congratulations on that. And I really do hope there will be more. I feel confident there will be. And if you guys can play a part in help growing Rocket League, which is my chosen title of choice, that would be massively appreciated. And please do carry on.
We will do our best to carry on, but it really comes down to just community as well. At the end of the day, we need your support as much as possible, and the more that we have that, the more that we can also drive essentially this vehicle forward to be able to support you. It is the happy circle, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So, thank you so much, man. I mean, I really do appreciate it being able to have this chat with you. I'm not too sure further from that.
Yeah.
I think we just once again reiterating We also, I guess, I see a lot of work that you're doing from a community standpoint, being able to highlight it. I think it's a shining example to also some other communities in terms of how you guys can spotlight yourselves a little bit better, get yourself out there. So, GG's to yourself as well, man.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Mr. Holden from ACGL, thank you very much. All right. So now we talk to Brad. Brad is one of the admins of the South African Six Man's Service. So, Brad, howdy.
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
No, I'm fabulous. So I want to do what can be done to grow Six Mans as much as possible. Because what spurred this conversation is I, from time to time, will have people message me and go, I'm looking for a team and I don't know how to find people to play with and whatever. I'm like, have you heard of Six Man? So they're like, what? So I do think we have a growing player base and not enough of them know about Six Man. So first of all, let's start with you, Brad. So first, talk about yourself and your involvement with Rocket League, what you've done, how what your story has been, and then we're going to get into Six Man's itself.
Yeah, sure. I started playing kind of 2016 with a mate of mine from school. We were in the boarding house together, and we just kind of played it on our laptops during kind of after school hours, and we played pretty much from season 3 before free to play. That's when we started playing kind of competitive matches. We were just playing casual up till then. And in 2017, when SA servers came out, my mate then discovered that there was this whole South African Rocket League community that we'd never even heard of or seen. And we kind of joined the RLSA Discord, and there was another one, I think it was RLX, which was run by Elf. And we kind of just started playing there, and then we joined a VS league, and grabbed a random third that we found playing SA servers, which turned out to be Happy Meal, who'd also never heard of the South African scene. And we just kind of played the league, and then we kind of split up. I joined a different team with Headshots and a guy called Noble. We did quite well, made Prem Div. And then in 2019, I took a break and a gap year from kind of the whole world. I went into the Eastern Cape and didn't have my phone for the whole week, only on Sundays. But it was a lot of fun. And then I kind of got back from that in about August, and I got a message from Empty Promises saying, do you want to join our team for LAN? Because Mr. Lowe had joined with, had left him and Poneflakes, and he joined Lion and Timmy. So I was like, sure. I mean, they had a spot, so I hopped onto the team. And after about, I think it was a month or two of playing together, not even, I to Joburg and I met you and met a whole bunch of other people. And yeah, we managed to take second, which I think was a lot better than what we were expecting.
A decent showing.
Yeah, a pretty decent showing, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, now RCS has come, which is obviously a massive thing for the region, and I've been playing in there. I haven't been doing as well as I would have hoped, but I mean, I'm having a lot of fun playing it, and I think it's really good. Everybody's getting a lot better, a lot faster.
Okay, great. So, well, that's a so you've been in and around the community, and I remember that LAN very well back in 2019 when we met. And had I known that would be the last LAN I would see, for I might have appreciated more. It was my first and last experience at a LAN. And had no idea that it was going to be such a long time until another one. Okay, well, so you are an admin for Six Mans, and we're going to talk more about what that means and what your role is in Six Mans. But before we get there, I think it's important to explain what is Six Mans, why does it exist, and what does everybody get out of it?
Yeah, of course. So in around, I think it was July in 2019, Phallus, Mr. Lowe, and Elf decided to launch a six-man server, which is basically where you get put into a skill bracket based off your in-game rank, and you then queue against 5 other random people in the community within your rank and play a best of 5 threes game. And then if you win, you get ELO, and if you lose ELO. So you lose a certain bunch of rating points based on whether or not you win or lose. And it's all about kind of bettering yourself against the people in your rank. So you want to improve by playing against the people in your rank and then winning enough that you can get into a higher rank. Because if you earn enough, like MMR or ELO, however you want to describe it, you can rank up. And once you rank up, you then play against that rank above you, and you are part of that rank, and you can get better because you're now learning from better players.
So it's it's sort of a more controlled playing of rank kind of thing. It's well, how would you say it differs from just grinding ranked solo? What would be the advantage of joining the 6-man server as opposed to just keep on the grind by yourself?
The advantage of joining 6-man is that you can get quite consistent queues and matches on South African servers, which becomes an issue the higher up in rank that you go. And you can also communicate with these randoms that you've never played with in voice chats. And you then get a much better feel of the game, and you get a better synergy, and you just tend to enjoy the game a bit more because you're playing with other people. You're not just grinding solo and, waiting 10 minutes to find a match. You can click the tick and you can go do something else or whatever, but as long as you make it for that queue and you get in, you'll get at least 3 games on South African servers of commed Rocket League.
Okay, and that's, I think, an important point is that it is a requirement that you're in comms, so it's not just quick chats. You're actually in a Discord server having comms with your team.
Yeah, it's a big part of it.
And I should probably, just in case there is anyone out there that is as slow as I am, because it took me a long time because I kept wondering why it was called 6-mans until I went, oh, it's 3v3 and there's 6 players.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people, they join the server and they wonder these things, but they never really ask. And
yes,
it's. Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe at the end we'll close with everything about 6-mans you were afraid to, you wanted to ask, but wanted to know, but were too afraid to ask. So now there are 6-mans all around the world. I mean, in EU it's a big thing. Everywhere you go where there's Rocket League, there's 6-mans. Is there any official affiliation, or is it just? I don't know if there's like an umbrella organization, or it's just something that you guys organized.
So there is an umbrella organization, but when the server was set up, Falisa and Alphen Low asked the RL 6-mans guys if they wanted to help them and help set up the server and get a good bot going and all of that. But they basically said no. And now we just have never really gotten into that RL 6-mans group. So I think the ones that are within the so they have 6 regions, which is OCE, North America, Europe, SAM, Asia, and the Middle East, and we're obviously left out of that.
That's a classic South African story, isn't it? It's kind of like, no, we're not interested, you go it alone, and here we are going it alone.
Yeah. So it's been a bit of a small gripe from the start, but it's not also the end of the world because, I mean, we've hit over 1,000 members. We've been growing steadily from 2019.
Okay, well then now let's talk about how, because I've noticed, and I don't know if this has been your experience as well, Brad, but certainly there does seem to be a growing player base locally. I seem to be queuing into local servers a lot more often, and with players I don't know, which is very encouraging. And then, as I said, I've had people who've reached out and would really like to join a team. Do they know how to go about it? And to me, the obvious place to go is 6-man. So how does somebody who's it open to? What are the joining rules? How does some random guy out there who did like yourself, who went, oh my God, there's like a whole community, what do they do to get involved?
So anybody can join the server, anybody can talk on the server. Our only stipulation is that you have to be from the designated sub-Saharan African countries within Psyonix's rule set.
Okay.
That's just for ping issues and making the game a bit more fair. So if you live in Europe or North America, you're not allowed to. You can join the server. You're just not allowed to get a rank. So you're not allowed to register on the server.
Got you.
And
And
once you've joined the server, there's a info channel which tells you pretty much everything you need to know. What rank within the server is assigned to what rank within the game.
and
And then
what
you can go and register your account.
and what ranks is it open to? Well, from what rank can you join six mans?
You can join six mans from any rank, and it doesn't matter how good or how bad you are. You can join. If you are below Diamond 2, you will be placed into rank C, which is our lowest rank. And then between kind of Diamond 2 and Champ 2, we have our rank B, and then Champ 2 to GC1 is rank A, and then if you're GC1 like and above, you get put into rank X, or you get put into rank A and then have to kind of prove yourself in rank A to get put into rank X.
Okay, so it's a simple matter of joining the Discord, and I am going to have a sort of permanent invite in the description of for the podcast. So if you're listening, just click that link, get into the server, and I mean it can be. I mean, what would you? It can be a little unnerving if you don't know anybody. And
Yeah.
So, what would you recommend the best introduction? Because you join the server and you go to the chats, and there's clearly a lot of people who know each other, and they're having their ribbing at each other, and they look like they're having fun. It's kind of like arriving at a party,
And you don't know anyone.
and you don't
yeah.
know anybody, which is terribly awkward for the best of us. So how would you recommend someone overcome that initial fear of other people?
I think the best way to do it is to register your account on the server and basically start playing games. You just start queuing and you find games, and then you chat to those people in the voice comms, and you kind of, you might like the way that someone plays, so then you go, oh, do you want to like come and join me in Rocket League and go grind some ranked or something? And another way that's good is you can then go into our general chat, and you can just try and join the conversation if you'd like. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, then you don't have to. Obviously, you can. There's plenty of ways to do it. Another good way that I can think of is to look in things like the clips channel, and then you can comment on a clip.
Okay.
And then someone might respond because it might have been their clip, and then they go, "Oh, thanks so much, man." And then you can maybe get a conversation going there. So I think the best way to do it is to register your account and then play a few games and see if you find anybody that you like.
And then, I guess walk around the halls a little bit, kind of to extend the party analogy. You arrive and kind of walk around and see, as you walk around, you see where the cool kids are and who the drinkers are, who the smokers are, and eventually you find your crowd and you kind of slip in there.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that was a good analogy until I mentioned drinkers and smokers, but anyway.
Yeah. There's also rank universal actually, which I missed.
Yes.
Which allows you to queue with any rank within the server. So you can, as a rank B or C player, you can then queue with rank X players. And then through that you can talk to some of the better players, and you can, find out like what they do, and if they want to maybe like 1v1 you or whatever to get better. And I know that there's a few that would definitely be willing. A lot of them like to play ones and challenge people, and I think it's also another good way of kind of getting in there is to queue with people from outside your rank at the same time.
All right. Well, I think the bottom line for me is that if the sense of community and the feeling of being part of a greater community is really important for growth of Rocket League in South Africa. And I know there's a few people who have who've started little, their own Discord channels and like little amateur orgs to get people, a little bit of competitive stuff going, which is fantastic, and it is absolutely to be encouraged. But as a central place for especially if you're looking to become more competitive and looking for players who are compatible with you and who can get on the grind with you, Six Mans is absolutely the best place, because there is such a breadth of, there's a wide range of people. And as you play, you do become familiar. You sort of fall in with people that are a good match from you from a team point of view. And having done it, I don't play a lot of six mans myself. I kind of go through phases of playing a lot and then not. And it's the same as any group of people. You sometimes you have to play with people you're not that compatible with, but that in itself is a learning experience, because that we have that in ranked when you're queued up with on your own, and you have to kind of figure out how to play it with and against other play styles. But this is, I believe, the best place for players who want to go competitive to find each other.
Yeah, I think it might be a bit biased if I said that, obviously. uh, but I think it's definitely a very good place to find people that you enjoy playing with and that you play well with. It's also a very good place to kind of learn how to adapt to other people's play styles. That being on your team or even playing against you. I think it really teaches you to kind of learn and change the way that you're playing, kind of on your feet and like getting around like that.
And then also a number of people I've spoken with. I've spoken with a coach out of EU, and then had a great conversation with Gregan last week, who make a point of saying get involved in the six mans, because if you are wanting to further yourself competitively, networking is a massive part of that. You're never going to find a team and go pro. Solo queuing rank by yourself. You've got to meet other people, get engaged, and learn and experience. So networking is really, really key. So I think my appeal would be, anyone listening to this who's already in six mans. I think everybody in six mans, as you're queuing and you find other local players in the chat, tell them to go and join six mans, or just find ways to tell people that there is a community that they can be part of, that they should join, and that they should be a part of and help grow the scene here. And so if you're listening, go and do that. At every opportunity, tell people to get involved in six mans. And now, Brad, who are the people running? Who runs and looks after six mans locally?
So at the moment we have myself, Erratic, Elf, and Biscuit Galaxy.
Okay.
Myself and Biscuit are the newest members to the team. I was added a while ago now, and Biscuit was added a few months ago to look after the bot more than anything.
Okay.
Elf kind of mainly looks after the bot. He doesn't do much of the disciplinary and like player reporting stuff. He more kind of does the season reset at the end of every month, and if the bot has any issues, he can go reset it and get it to run a bit faster and cleaner.
Okay.
And then Erratic and myself, we mainly do the other side of it. So we do
political issues.
Yeah. we do the player reports. We do the a queue's not working, so we go cancel the queue. We do some guy's internet's gone out, so we delete the queue. We do all of that kind of stuff. And Biscuit kind of sits in the middle of the bot and doing that kind of stuff.
All right.
And then
go ahead.
We also have a council of guys that kind of are spread out over the ranks, who help us with some of those, as you said, political issues.
Okay. All right. Well, a couple of things I think is important to mention is that you've already mentioned some names like Falliser, Mr. Lowe, and Elf, who I think were very involved in setting it up. So a big shout out to them, and then to you and the rest that are running it, because it's. Unless I'm mistaken, it's not a well-paid position.
By not well-paid, you mean nothing at all? Then yes, you would be correct.
The occasional high five, but mostly just irritation because you've done something wrong. I know how this goes, and it's important that you and Biscuit and Erratic and the other one you mentioned, Elf, of course, get acknowledgement for doing this, because it is really important, and you probably aren't thanked enough for your work. So from me, on behalf of the community, I thank you for keeping it going, because, like all of these things, you go through periods where it's doing well, periods where it's doing bad, and where there's young passionate people involved, there's always going to be issues, and it's fabulous that you're there and keeping it going, and I hope we can grow it. and make it into something awesome.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And you did mention the bot, and I think it's, all of this for the most part, Six Mans is automated. So with commands, so it's not complicated to be there. It runs quite smoothly. Speaking as someone, when I first joined, it was a bit intimidating because I didn't understand all the commands and whatever. But eventually, you pick it up, you get it, and it is so easy to be a part of. And I do think there's, I'm now, because I still get all the notification when someone's joined, set up a queue.
Yeah.
And I know it's going better because I see people calling for queues at 6 in the morning, at 8 in the morning, 10 o'clock in the, so throughout the day, there's people looking for games, which is very encouraging. So it's not just, late afternoon into the evening. There are, depending on when you like to play Rocket League, it does seem like the potential for games is possible almost any time. And the more we get in there, the more that becomes more viable.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen games on at 1:30, 2 in the morning, and there was a point where Rank X, you would never see a queue throughout the whole day, and then for some reason at 1:30 in the morning, there were 6 guys busy playing in Rank X, and there was never a queue any other time, and it was very interesting at that point because it was kind of like funny to watch it because you never saw anything else active in the Rank X like voice chat until you saw these 6 guys get on
Yeah.
at 1:30 in the morning and play.
Amazing.
So it was, yeah, and I think I know that Rank B is currently the most active on the server. They get quite a few queues a day. Sometimes they get literally upwards of 20 in a day,
Awesome.
which is very cool. It's really cool to see.
Okay, great. Well, there you go. That is Six Mans. If you are a Rocket League player in South Africa and you want to be part of a bigger community, and perhaps you have ambitions to get a bit more competitive, that's the place to find other people, to network, to get together, and let's get as many people as we can into Six Mans. Let's grow the scene. So come the next split and then the next season, we have just a forever growing number of teams going competitive and uplifting the whole Rocket League community. So Brad, on behalf of yourself and the rest of the guys putting in the work, thank you very much. And as I've said, the Discord invite will be in the description. Brad, would you be okay if we put your Discord deets in as well? If anyone's got questions, if they're a bit not sure, can they reach out to you and ask some questions?
Yeah, of course.
Brilliant.
Of course they can.
So I'll put Brad's details in there and the Discord invite, but get out there, join the Discord if you haven't, and tell everybody about it. And Brad, once again, thank you very much.
Thank you.